up, everybody? We are here with Andy Talaga, and it is a
In my
Sunday.
beautiful house here. You can tell. I got it.
Andy is casually hanging out in his living room. I'm hanging out in my Star Destroyer, and we just couldn't stop talking about things that I know everybody else wants to hear about. So we're just going to have an open chat here, mostly on collecting in the post-pandemic world. We're going to touch upon Star Wars cards. We're going to touch upon Topps cards. We're going to touch upon Marvel cards. And we're also going to touch upon some of the other things just going on in the collecting ether. So join us on this ride as we go right into it. And I got my whiskey by my side, so I'm already a little buzzed. So this will be kind of an interesting conversation. But let's kick it off.
This
We
one's
were
probably going to be
already
like
talking before
this
getting
one's probably
recorded.
going to be like good to just like put on your drive to work and like
Yeah,
because I
you're
don't have
commuting to
anything to
work.
show.
Put this on. There's nothing to show. We're just gonna chat and spit it. You're probably gonna have opinions about it. We want to hear about it
Yeah,
in the comments section.
like and subscribe as well.
Let's just kick it off with you. What is at the top of your mind right now?
Well, I think I've been looking at a lot of different like collecting facets, different card games, non-sport, sport,
Like what? Like
comics.
what? Tell us. Give us some. Shoot some names out.
So I've so I guess the reason why I've been looking at all those is because I think that a lot of the markets and card collecting have come down drastically from their highs in 2021. I wouldn't say it's necessarily imploding, but it's kind of there. So like it's a good chance to just kind of get back into different facets of collecting. Like I had taken a step away from Marvel cards in like late 2020, and that was like right when like all these different sports card investors, Bitcoin bros, etc., jumped in and like spiked the markets. Like prior to like early 2020 or like 2019, they have these cards called like precious metal gems, which are like technically holdovers from sports cards, but Marvel kind of adopted them. They're kind of a thicker metallic card. Man, they were like a couple $100, maybe like $100 or lower for like most of them. And I mean, Steve Aoki got in and like bought a Spider-Man PMG from Marvel 2013 retro for like $180,000. Crazy. And it was like, all right, there goes the market, right? Like, and
Yeah.
Marvel cards went absolutely nuts. In like 2020, 2021 into 2022. And then like, I was just looking at it, I'm like, hey, like all these people kind of left the collectible space. They've moved on to whatever their next thing is, flipping real estate or sneakers or something. And like,
Yeah, I mean, but I want to touch upon this because we do see this seasonality and certainly with graded cards as well. Like summer is definitely a slower time. I mean, people are
sure,
going outside, people want to travel. There's less top of mind. Generally, cards in general are like less expensive in the summer because there's just like less people almost like paying attention, if that's fair to say. I mean, honestly, I've been spending more time in my pool than I have in front of my computer looking at my cards. But in the
I can tell
wintertime,
from your
like
complexion.
yeah, I mean, is this really post-pandemic, or is this like the
Um,
economy in play with less people having disposable income to spend on cards, or is there just a general less hype? Are we moving to something like sneakers and Legos and a different collectible? I don't know if I buy that. I do believe there's some level of wave here, but we did have the wild case of all these sports cards, collectors, sport card, hobby shop owners that, or even YouTube and Twitch and whatever WhatsApp followers who had never dabbled into outside of sports cards, getting into these non-sport things because they're seeing the rise in it, right? I mean, obviously we can see things like Pokemon kind of taking by storm with all these, massive followers on YouTube, and Magic hasn't really gone, disappeared anywhere. But I mean, Star Wars cards in general has always been somewhat niche. Whether you're talking about Star Wars CCG or Topps Star Wars cards, that's still like kind of a focused market. And I know Marvel's probably a little bit larger, and
maybe.
maybe. Yeah, I mean,
They're both like huge IPs, but Marvel also has the distinction that there's like Marvel Cinematic Universe cards and Marvel art cards, and they're kind of like almost like two different complete
so
camps.
have comic book collectors switched over to like collecting the art cards because maybe that's easier to hold on to, or is this a totally different collector market?
Totally different collector market. I think. I mean, there's
Totally
definitely
different.
people.
Okay.
I guess there's definitely character collectors. Like you're really into Wolverine or Punisher or Hulk or whatever. Like you're going to buy all the cards, and you're also going to be the person that goes into the comic book store and buys, the comic book with the art. But I mean, you're just kind of really. I think the comic industry is really just retreading a lot of early '90s stuff. Um,
So you're saying they're not pioneering anything really new that's
comic
grabbing
book,
the attention of newer folks.
probably not. Like all comic books are doing anymore are just relaunching everything to be issue ones constantly, and they're introducing like 50 new characters a year because all they're trying to do is find the next Harley Quinn or X-23 to like be like, oh, we found a new cash cow that people are just going to go crazy for. And it's like most of the characters are like kind of one and done, which is again just a retreading of early '90s stuff. Like how
So
many
are you talking about expanding the mutant universe, like with X-Men, like in the mutant universe? Is this how they're introducing, or just
all over
new
the place?
superheroes in general?
Superheroes in general, like there's like
Oh yeah,
you know
that's a tough gig.
because they're just like they're trying to find the next character that people are going to resonate with that they can brand on 10 million things but also make movies out of, right? And so they're just and then DC has just been a cluster for years.
DC is a complete cluster bomb. I mean, with their movies and now rebooting, like it's just like
So
they didn't take the right steps in it, and they keep rehashing Batman for the love of God. I mean, like just get that right. I mean, the Dark Knight trilogy was fantastic, Christopher Nolan,
sure.
awesome, but that was just like a piece of the puzzle, right? I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, Batman's really the only. And I know we're already into the weeds on this one, but like Batman's really the only character that's even like qualified to be a movie because every other DC character is just ungodly powerful. Like,
right. So Superman has always been too powerful,
what are you
right?
going to
I
do with
mean,
Superman?
and
There's literally
kryptonite.
no threat you can pose to Justice League or like it's crazy to me that like the Flash. Like I didn't even bother seeing the Flash movie, but like no, it's like Flash is just Flash by far is the most absurdly powerful character. Like I mean, everybody's going to say Superman's more powerful and whatever, but like, come on, Flash can move
The
so
guy
fast.
can run back in time.
He can
Like
move. He can
what?
vibrate so fast. He can demolecularize anything.
Like
He can't.
what?
So like, what are you going to do to make a credible threat to create tension and drama in a movie? Nothing, because the character's just ridiculously powerful. Like, oh, gee, Green Lantern, you got a magic ring that no longer has, yellow whatever where you can't like use it if it's like
Yeah,
around
but
zero yellow,
what
and
about
he can do
Arrow? I
anything
mean,
he
he's
wants.
had a fair,
And
fair
everyone, you know.
Arrow has had a long shot at like a TV series, right? I mean, he's not exactly super powered.
I mean,
He's just
sure, but like, there's a big difference between terrible CW shows and like full on blockbuster movies that like nobody knows who Green Arrow is.
I mean, yeah, I mean it is kind of cheesy. Don't get me. Oh, it's a little campy a bit, but it's still like I don't know. At least he's not super powered. You know, like he's actually like that's what makes Batman intriguing, right? Like
Well, that's why I said there's the only character that you can really do anything with.
he like
We're gonna make a
outsmarts his
Plastic Man
opponent.
movie. Plastic Man's just gonna become so thin that he'll become invisible, go through a pore on your skin, and then reform and explode you from the inside out. Like, how do you beat Plastic Man? Plastic Man's literally unbeatable. Flash is unbeatable. Green Lantern's unbeatable. Wonder Woman's unbeatable. Like, come on, really? Like, there's no character. Like, at least with like Marvel, I mean,
I mean, I've
all
always
the
been a big
characters are
Captain
super
America
powerful
fan. Don't
too.
get me
Like,
wrong.
but like, at the end of the day, Iron Man's just a guy in a suit, right? He's Batman, right? Like, you know.
Yeah, it's convenient that the superheroes become ultra rich because it basically gives them unlimited resources to write off like whatever tech they introduce. Because you're like, okay, they already have unlimited money, so that's how they
Like at
got
some
it,
point,
right?
Steve Rogers is still just a super soldier. Like,
I like Captain America. I like Steve Rogers. Like,
sure,
I'm sad he's gone.
I mean, it's funny to say that you like Steve Rogers, in a post like 2010 world, because anything before 2010 Avengers are all like C-level Marvel characters, but like,
But
and like
together, they're great. Individually, meh, but together, they're awesome.
sure. But I mean, and I guess part of that's like also like the problem with like Marvel as well is like there's just certain characters you can just never introduce, right? Like you can never, like, that's what's going to make like stuff like FF so bizarre is like what do you do with Fantastic Four? Like, first off, Reed Richards is just so smart. He figured out a way to come into the real world and meet the writer of the comic book in the comic book. He met. There's a point where she
It's
gets
just
out.
like bored writing. Like I don't know what to write. Like
Like, yeah, but like beyond that, like you can't do anything with FF's kids. Like Valeria and Franklin Richards. I mean, Franklin Richards is like unreal, like powerful, right? He's the only character that survives the end of time. He enslaves Galactus and then uses Galactus to end the universe to birth a new universe.
it's funny you mentioned
I,
Galactus. I was
I,
about to
how
mention
can you
you have
possibly
these outsized threats like Galactus, and
like Franklin Richards is Franklin Richards in his free time creates and ends universes. Like that's his mutant power. He will create a new universe and then rule it as an omnipotent god and then crush it. What do you do against that character? Oh, Thanos, great! You're gonna
it
snap your
gets a little
finger. Guess
ridiculous.
what, Thanos? I'm gonna put you in this pocket dimension and in my new universe that I just created, and then crush it. That's the end of Thanos.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think the power creep gets a little out of hand as you
yeah. I mean,
introduce
like,
more and more characters, right? Because you're trying to make them more interesting, right? Like, oh, they're a little more powerful than this person, or so and so.
right.
Make it more
So,
intriguing.
I think that there's you know, yes, there's very different people who are into going back to the original point of this thing is there's very different people who are into card collecting and comics. There's a huge overlap on that Venn diagram, but I think that that's more so either character collectors or people who are looking for like Bronze Age, Silver Age type stuff. Like ultra modern comics are,
I
don't
mean,
get me wrong,
honestly, the comic book target audience has got to be a little older, right? Like, that's not like
sure,
bringing in newer
and it's
people.
super expensive. Good
Stupid
lord,
expensive. It takes up a lot of real estate because people tend to buy a lot of them, and
right?
they take up like an entire attic.
50 long boxes of comics, right?
Exactly. Yeah, they take up all these long boxes. You got to worry about the condition of them, from the heat, humidity, moisture, fire, whatever.
Or you
Um,
grade them and they take up even more space. And then, like I
for
said,
that,
everything's just kind of retreading early 90s stuff. There's 50 different variant covers, and there's lenticular covers, and there's this new character, and they're on 16 other different covers. And then every story is this massive multiverse, multi team crossover. That if you want to read the whole story, you have to read 46 different titles, and it's just like
it's a little
I
out
don't
of
know who's buying comics in 2023, to be honest with you. That's like ultra modern stuff. Even like stuff probably post maybe like 2000.
Right. So what I'm saying is the target demographic for comic book collectors is definitely older. Like guys that had collected this stuff for real. And don't get me wrong, like when I was a kid, I came across some classic Incredible Hulk comics, and I just thought they were like the coolest thing, and I kept them. I mean, they're
Sure.
only worth like $5, but they're the kind of thing you could go into a barber shop, like an old barber shop, and they'd be like sitting down on the side of the chair while you waited, and there'd be like 10 comics, you could read them. And that was like to me like the coolest thing ever. But I knew at that time it was old. Like it was
Right.
like, this is not my generation. This was the generation before me. because here we are watching, we grew up in the 90s with like X-Men animated, right? Like, I mean, there was Batman animated, like that stuff was really good. Like
Right.
when that stuff came out, right? Like that was like really got us hooked, right? Not as much the comics. And now I'm wondering, who's the target audience for these cards, right? Going back to card collecting.
So for card collecting, I think there's, I think Marvel, there's this like huge dearth of like card collecting. I feel like between about 2000 and like 2012, like that, like 10, 12 years, plus minus a couple years on whatever side of that you want to take. Like card collecting just kind of died, right? Like,
Yeah, no, I agree because we see that Pokemon basically went the way of the dinosaur. So all those sets that people actually collected then are worth so much more for the rare stuff because nobody was paying attention, right? And the same with Star Wars CCG. Nobody was really paying attention, but if you were buying boxes and sets then, you got like the deal of a lifetime
sure.
buying those stuff.
And I think
Just
it's
like
just the fallout of 90s collecting, right? Like all that
right.
stuff.
It was none of that
Early
stuff was worth
90s.
anything. Nobody could give it away. And it was like, what am I going to do with this stuff? So you just let it sit and you're like, it's not worth anything. Maybe you give it away at a garage sale or Goodwill or eBay it for $10, and you're like, whatever. It's never going to be worth anything.
Yeah. I think it's the kind of thing where like a bunch of people who were probably like 15, so they're probably like a little bit older than you and me. They're probably in their like mid to late 40s. So they're like, 15, 12 to 15 years old or so in like 1991, 1992.
Okay.
And so like they're 35 in 2012 and they hit that, and that's when you start seeing a lot of resurgent stuff because these are the kids that grew up collecting 80s and early 90s things, which was like
to add to that, they could have been part of the Magic, early Magic sets, collecting those as well.
Sure, Magic.
Like everybody had Magic like then and there, but it wasn't worth anything. It was like, okay, cool, like you play it here and there. It wasn't that big of a deal.
It's the kids that bought comics and all thought that X-Men 1 from 1990 when they relaunched it was going to be $1 billion, or bought into Death of Superman, or bought into like all the variant covers and all they're god awful comics, Executioner's Song and all that kind of crap, and like or like Marvel cards or early 90s baseball stuff, or
assuming they had the money, right? Like assuming they had the funds to go to these shops and buy this stuff or convince their parents to buy it, right? I mean, at 12 years old, I don't know how much disposable income you had, but like in the mid 90s, like I was in middle school, right? Like
right. So
I wouldn't really have any money to buy this
a
stuff.
little bit older than us, but like you find a way to, like, if you're going to be the kind of person who's going to collect comics and cards and other assorted toys in the late 80s, early 90s, you'll find a way to. So, but these are the same people that around the age of 35 hit in like, 10 years ago, right? And that's when you start seeing like a spike in different types of card collecting start to come back. I mean, basketball and football and baseball, like sports stuff, it was there in the 2000s, but that's also when but it was really just star players, like people chasing Kobe's and LeBrons and stuff. But like you see around the year like 2010, 2012 is when Topps and Panini and all this stuff started figuring out collector markets, like really collector. Like there were some serialized cards or some subsets or short prints, but there was nothing like, a $5,000 box that has 2 cards in it, right? Or like
like the numbered cards came out around that time, right? Was it like Upper Deck or
probably a little bit before that, but that's when it started really hitting and started being in all the different sets. And that's when you start seeing a diversification of different types of card collecting that really just kind of carried through. Now people washed out a little bit over, the back half of the last decade, but like, by the time pandemic comes around, all those people jump back in because they're at home, right? So it's kind of this little like cyclical thing, I think, that ended up happening at the end of like, and now that we're kind of out of pandemic, it's 2023, and these people are now going to be, a lot of them are going to be in their, like people who are now going to be in that like 35-year-old range are people who were probably more like late 90s kids, right?
Okay.
So they're looking at different things, right? That's why I think you see a huge resurgence of Pokemon in the last like 3-4 years, because that hit in the late 90s. But you're going to see this like, but then those slightly older people who were late 80s kids, they're now going to be approaching 45 to 50.
So are
Like,
we seeing this 20-year nostalgic wave? Is that what you're explaining? Like
I
you're saying
kind of
the
think
guys that
I
coming
think it
back?
was, but it got like a little bump wave, like a secondary wave that hit during COVID. But now it's all just kind of washing out, and so like the people who are in
Is
it
it
are
washing
probably,
out or is it leveling out? Like, is it really just like rebalancing to where the market really should be because it went a little out of hand at COVID? Like had COVID not happened, would we be about the same trajectory?
I mean,
You
it's
know
an
what I mean? Like,
interesting,
I mean,
it's an
obviously that's a
interesting
hypothetical,
philosophical.
but
It's
you
not a
know,
philosophical. It's an interesting thing to ponder on, because like I think that a lot of these people probably would have washed out in 20, really kind of had washed out by 2018, 2019, and only the people who were really interested in being there were still there. It all picked back up in 2020, but I think that if you didn't have this COVID thing going on over the last couple of years, like I don't know if those people necessarily come back, and I think more people attrition out than people come in.
that's an interesting point. So now, okay, so we were talking about Marvel. Obviously, we hinted about Star Wars, right? Star Wars IP very strong. Marvel IP very strong, right? I mean, uh, have your opinions what you want on the Disney universe, but there's consistent stuff coming out and there's something for everyone. It's a pizza party, right? Same with Star Wars. You don't have to love all of it, but it's still coming. So you might love Mandalorian or not like Andor, vice versa. Maybe you don't like a movie, maybe you like this, whatever. Who gives a crap? Doesn't matter. Stuff's still coming out, right? So we know that interest is still there and that is cross-generational, right?
Mhm.
But when it comes to these collectibles, like what is it that is driving, like who's the target audience for a 2023 Marvel product, a 2023 Star Wars product, right? I mean, in my mind, I either see somebody who's trying to create content for somebody my age, maybe mid late 30s, early 40s, right? Um, or like a dad who sees this and wants to get their, 8 to 14-year-old son or daughter involved in collecting these, so they start buying them and trying to get them excited about this stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah, I
where
think
where are we at in this? Because I want to know if you care about the new stuff. Does our generation care about this new stuff, or are we just living in this little targeted bubble, hoping that the next generation like carries the torch for the other stuff?
I am very particular with what I want to collect, right? So
As
like
you should. I mean,
I'm
a
not
wide net is crazy. I mean, you can't collect it all, right? It's better to just go deep into like a few things and be really specialized, and just a little bit of
I,
everything is like,
I agree, but even when I say look at top Star Wars, right, or Upper Deck Marvel stuff, right? Like specifically for Marvel, I don't touch any of the cinematic universe stuff. I don't care, right? I'm not, and
is that
differently,
just you, or is that the type of collectors that you deal
that's
with that are
probably
like
more
more in the same
just
page?
me, with like an asterisk of the people who I mostly interact with in the Marvel space are all also art card people, not movie
So they
stuff people.
appreciate the graphic artists, the people that design the comic
Right.
stuff.
Because I
They
mean, these
want
are probably people similar to me who grew up reading comics, going to the comic store, you know, looking at Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri and like, the Todd McFarlanes and the art of comics, right? More so than because there's no like movies other than early 90 Batman with Michael Keaton, right? Like really what came out in the mid 90s, late 90s. I mean, the 2000 X-Men stuff doesn't really hold up very well,
Yeah.
so like there's like that, but then there's like I don't really chase autos. So, but if you're an auto person, you're going to be in the cinematic universe cards, right?
Yeah, because I agree with you. I mean, I think autos from cinematic stuff from a speculation point for the people that are kind of like here and there, like that is very appealing. But for the true collector, I think the art cards do go further. And I think that's why, like Galaxy cards have been so popular because they're not just a picture from, some scene in what you've already watched. Like it's like this is an artist rendering and they're really cool interpretations of the Star
Right.
Wars universe. And that's super collectible. And there's obviously an appreciation for art here. Like it's really more of a, oh, I like the art, that's why I want it. Less like, oh, I like this scene or this character. I mean, there are people that definitely focus on those characters, but for sure, like I look at some cards, I'm like, that art is just really good. Like that's just really cool. Like I just want it because I like looking at it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that differently for me for Star Wars is such a movie and TV show like phenomenon for me that like I never read the Marvel comics. I could care less about that kind of stuff, right? So like
You mean the
seeing
Star Wars comics that Marvel
Star
put out?
Wars comics,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
I don't care about Darth Vader's escapades with some character in a comic book that came out in 2015. Like that's not real canon.
Well, the Shadows of the Empire comic was kind of cool.
That was a completely different like that because there's nothing that was happening with Star Wars in 1996.
Right. So that was pretty exciting.
Sure. There's a ton of crap that's happening with Star Wars in 2015 to 2023 that I just don't care about anything that's going on in the comic books. Right?
I'll agree with you there. I think a lot of people are like a little jaded.
Right. So, like for me, where Marvel is all comic art related and not really cinematic universe related, for me, Star Wars is the opposite. Star Wars is all cinematic universe for me and not so much art. I'll say it also really depends on the artist, right? Like there's a lot of Marvel sets I just won't even touch. I'm just like, pass, don't care. I know there's some artists probably poured their heart and soul into it and like they did a great job. I'm not going to fault them for it. It's just not for me. Same way with a lot of Star Wars. Like if there was a Star Wars set that came out where just every piece of art was like, I looked at it and I also want uniformity across my art. So I want all one artist to do everything. I don't want to have like,
and I think that's
artist, which is why I hate sketch cards. Right.
There's sketch cards are like just kind of random art. I understand why people
sketch card artists who I really like, and but like I just don't care about sketch cards. I don't care about autos. I want, so like for Star Wars, it's more about like the Star Wars also has this problem for me in that like I don't really want anything from the prequel or sequel trilogy. I just want OT stuff. So like I don't want to buy Masterworks and end up with a bunch of junk from, like sequel trilogy. That's pretty sweet. I love booklets. Like booklets are really.
This is a triptych, yeah.
I know you got to get that graded. That would look sick in like in a giant like PSA or BGS holder, or get HGA to make you a custom one.
Yeah, I had a really terrible box opening, but that came out of it, and that literally paid for all of it. So.
Yeah.
I probably that there was, but going back to your point, the only reason I shared that was because I've pulled lots of sketch cards. Some are nice, some are meh, but I usually sell them because I don't have any real attachment to it. And like you said, it's not something to collect. It's more of like an art appreciation. So there's certainly people who are like, I like this artist, so I want that sketch, or I like Boba Fett stuff, so I want that. But to me, it's not a collectible I can check off a box and say I completed a set. So I'd rather use it towards more product that I can complete another set, or something more rare that I
Sure.
know is registered rare. So it might have great value. I mean, it might be worth $200, $300, $400. I don't know, but I'm just going to use it to buy more product and get something else.
Sure. And the other thing that I don't like about non-sport stuff, or non-sport slash non-gaming things, is one, on the non-gaming side, like looking at non-sport tops or upper deck type cards, is there's literally no utility to this other than to display it and look nice. And you just look at it and you're like, oh, that looks really great, and a lot of the things that I own bring me a lot of joy and happiness, where I'm like, this is really sweet to have, I like it, but it doesn't do anything, right? Whereas if it's a gaming card, Magic, Star Wars, Lorcana, whatever we're going to talk about, right? Like
Right.
Flesh and Blood, I can actually appreciate the card for the art or the images or whatever, as well as get some type of utility with it, which is why I generally like gaming cards a lot more than non-sport stuff. The other thing that I think I don't really like about non-sport is that it just like, okay, it's the next year, the next set's coming out, and it's like,
Yeah.
wait, like I really liked 2022 Chrome, or I really liked 2018 Marble Masterpieces or something, but everybody else is just chasing the new thing, right? So like I got back into Marvel cards recently because I'd taken an extended break from them because prices of stuff went crazy. I also didn't really care for a couple of the artists that were doing some of the, not that they didn't do good work, it didn't hit for me. And I got back into it, and everybody's like the stuff that I'm looking for, I can't find it anymore. It's out there, and like people have it, and you post it, but like you don't get a lot of engagement on your posts, like of buying and selling, because everybody's onto this, like, I'm looking for stuff that's from 2019, 2020. They're all 3-4 years in now from where I was at, and I'm like, I don't care about Fleer Ultra Avengers.
Yeah, but there's advantages to that too, because yes, if the set is super popular, then it might be hard to find what you're looking for 3-4 years
Which
later.
happened with one
but
set that I'm chasing, but
but
yeah, I
for
mean
but
prices
for
come down
most
a lot.
sets, but let's be honest though, but for most sets though that pop out, it's just like, oh, this is the set of the quarter, and like we're gonna chase the the numbers and then move on. I'm chasing missing cards from sets that came out either last year or a few years ago, and like some of those cards are like stupid cheap, because it's like, oh, the boxes were a decent amount priced then, but now everyone's either got what they need and they've moved on. So those who are trying to sell or unload stuff, it's a little bit harder, because you got to find somebody who's actually looking specifically for that set. So I've been able to get complete base sets for like 12, $13 of 100 something cards, or large bulk lots for relatively cheap. And because it's a non-gaming set, like you said, you have that, I guess, advantage to buy stuff. But as a gaming card, right, that would probably be a larger audience and have a little bit more, I guess, of a higher bottom, if you will, because at the end of the day, you can still play with it.
Right.
Whereas these older cards, like Topps Rise to the Last Jedi, like how many people are actively looking for those cards? Like literally nobody. So I was like, great, I'll get the whole set, because I could literally exchange this for peanuts and I'll get rid of my extras. It's like,
Yeah,
but if it were a game I could play, that might be different. It might be different, right?
yeah.
Like,
I mean, part of me also looks at stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, I could get this whole base set for $12 or $15, and it's a great value, a great deal. Oh, what am I going to do with this? I'm going to sit in a binder.
oh, it's gonna sit in a little cube for sure.
I'm
On
never
my
going to
desk.
really look at it, and it's like, why did I buy this? Right? But like the other side of
But
that is like,
but
because
you
I'm
have it, right? Like I guess if you wanted a museum of sets, like you'd have it, I guess.
I'm just looking for much space. Like space is so limited. I feel like I need this beautiful house here. Like I would tear all of these cabinets out. This would be like a sick display here, right? Um, but like the other thing is you said is if it becomes a popular set or for some reason it becomes really popular, years on, it becomes impossible to find and cards just become stupid priced. Like the
Yeah.
other thing it could like I'm going through that, I'm trying to pick up I'm a sucker for gold embossing on cards. Gold foil embossing. I'll just drop everything and be like, please give this to me. I love
For
this.
any card or for a gold embossed Marvel card specifically?
Like honestly, for like I love just
Well,
like
the reason I asked though is because I've recently like caught my eye on there's this it's totally random, right? But there's this new James Bond collectible set, right? And it has numbered relics up to 10 that have gold nuggets in them and are gold embossed cards. And they're like some sort of gold finger relic or something. But I was like, that's kind of cool, like kind of weird.
yeah, I guess Marvel stuff, but like if I saw like a Star Wars or because I really only look at probably three universes. That's maybe four, but really three: Star Wars, Marvel, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And there's really nothing that ever comes out for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I have all of the base sets from the 80s, including the Canadian version, the Irish version, all the stickers, everything. It's like I have a complete master set of everything that was released in 1989, 1990. I don't want anything with the 90, 91 live action stuff. I just want the animated things because that's what I remember Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles more to be. I mean, of course, I saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in 1990. I was 7 years old and thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And then, side note, that's probably Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are like the thing that probably saved Pizza Hut from bankruptcy, like like late
Yeah,
80s.
right. It's funny. I just saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle action figures while I was strolling through Walmart earlier today. And it was just kind of funny. Like, I'm like, why are these here? Like, I guess I know they rebooted it to a degree, but I guess this is like our generation kind of saying, like, yo, or maybe the generation a little older than mine saying, like, hey, kids should
Yeah,
like this
I think
too.
I'm a
We
couple
like
years older than you, so it's like my generation, right? Like
right.
you're in a slightly different generation because you're like probably 3 years younger than me, but like
Well, for me, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was immortalized in the arcade game that I had for NES, which I was kind of maybe late to the game to get NES, anyways. Like, and I started with Super Mario Brothers 3, but I was hooked. And even when Super Nintendo came out, I was still playing NES. So I was a little like older generation playing with stuff. But the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stuff for that was awesome. I mean, I remember the animated show, which was really good. But
it's actually terrible, by the way. The
well,
first
when I was a
the
kid,
first the
I
first
thought it was the
season is
greatest thing
actually
ever.
really good because it was supposed to be released like as a movie, and it's actually like super dark and um, because it's really based on the comics, which Kevin Eastman wrote as these like parodies of those like how the comic industry in the mid '80s went super gritty because of Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen, and
Mm.
and then like also like set it in New York City, which in the late '70s, early '80s was like not the safest place in the
Yeah,
world.
heavy crime,
Heavy
darker,
crime,
organized crime,
graffiti
right?
all over all the cars, and like
Yeah,
the height of the crack epidemic and stuff like that, like ravaging the Bronx is all burned down, right? Like you set it in that, and then like, but then you take it and you make that into a cartoon that you're going to show to 3 year olds, but kind of keep that like slight edginess, but like make it acceptable for like a 3 year old to see. So like the first season is kind of dark and is really good. After that, it's just like we need to save April O'Neil every episode, and it's actually just terrible. But there's also a 2019 Art of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which had parallels and sketch cards and all that type of stuff, autos from different artists, and
did you
so
collect that?
You could buy the whole base set for like $90. So I did. They're on.
Base set for $90. That's kind of high for a base set.
Yeah, I mean, because they have like so the way it worked is you could buy a box, and inside the box had a complete base set, but it also had um parallels. And there's like, I don't remember the exact color order, but it's like orange to 50, green to 25, blue to 10, red to 5, then like black to 1 or whatever it is, right? And there's like people chased it, right? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is still somewhat of like a recognizable IP and it's kind of popular, and it's really a nice set. They're on thick cards too. They take 135 point top loaders. They're like
Wow.
freaking huge. They're nice looking too, and it's all new art for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but they did it not in like the style of 2003 after Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's all in the style of 1984 through like 1992 Turtles. It's really cool.
Okay.
I really liked it, but you buy the whole base set for $90, and then I was done. I was like, I'm not going to chase any parallels on this. This looks good. There's a couple cards where I'm like, I kind of want to have a rainbow on it, but the rainbow is just there's like a silver embossed logo that they'll do in like a different color. So it'll be like an orange embossed logo or a green embossed logo.
Oh, so
like
it's nothing else really distinguishing.
Nothing to distinguish any of the art or like on the back of the card looks any different. So I was like, I don't really care about
that. Makes it less appealing. Yeah.
Right.
To do that, yeah.
But then they don't do anything else with it. But so, and then maybe Lord of the Rings a little bit. I'm a huge Tolkien fan, but like I'm not gonna go chase autos or anything for that. And
for Lord of the Rings TCG or for Lord of the Rings,
anything like Lord of the Rings
when they release the non-game cards.
Either or. I got a full set of there's a card in Fellowship of the Rings block for the TCG that Decipher put out where it's Master Proudfoot. And that's the guy at Bilbo's birthday party where he like puts his foot up on the table.
Oh yeah.
Proud feet, right?
Yeah.
I think the guy's just hilarious. And so there's a card called Master Proudfoot, and it's just got this gigantic foot in the image. So I got a full from the TCG. I got a full. I guess you could call it a rainbow. It's not really a rainbow, but they printed the cards in like 9 languages or something like that. So I got one of every language in both foil and non-foil for Master Proudfoot. But the guy that was Master Proudfoot also has a card in like one of the Lord of the Rings like non-sport, non-gaming sets, and he has a base like a hollow refractor and an auto. So I got one of each of those. So I have like a complete Master Proudfoot collection. It's very random.
I think I bought some complete Lord of the Rings base set. I don't know. It was the non-gaming one, but it was like $10 or something. I was like, sure.
Yeah. So like that, if it's outside of those kind of sets, really, I'm probably not gonna look at it too hard. But any of those things, like Star Wars, Marvel, that have like gold embossed foiling on it and stuff, man, I love bling. I love foils. Like gaming, I play with foils. Non-gaming, like I love shiny things. I'm a kid with low attention, I guess. I have something shiny in front of me, right? But so like I love gold embossed foils. So I'm trying to chase Marvel 75th anniversary cards, which came out in 2014 by Rittenhouse Archives before they lost the license to Upper Deck. These cards are super expensive. They're like, I just bought a Spider-Man today for like $600.
So is this because they just printed less of them? They weren't as popular then?
Well, that's part of it, right? That's kind of at the beginning, re-beginning is not a word, but like when comics, cards, stuff like that kind of started taking back off around 2012. This is 2 years in. Plus, like nobody, I mean, it's 10 years old product now. Like, who's got this stuff laying around anymore? All those people that bought it washed out, just sitting at their house now, like maybe in a few years that it can resurface, or somebody will resurface and it's like, oh.
Or it's sold at a garage sale or something because
I mean, some guy offered me 50 of there's 75 different cards. So it's not even like all of the characters. Some guy offered me 50 of them today for just over $5,000. And I was like, that's a lot of money. I don't really want to put out $5,000 for these right now. So I picked up like 6 of them. But, like stuff like Spider-Man's literally never going. I'm not looking at it as like an investment. I like Spider-Man. I have some very nice Spider-Man cards already, but it's just one. Plus, like some of them, there's like artists that I really like on it. Some of them just look really good. Some of them are characters that I do collect as characters that I picked up. Some of them, Upper Deck's not allowed to produce all different Marvel characters. There's a banned list. So you cannot get, like currently you cannot get cards of anybody in FF, Gambit. Like there's like just like these random characters because the people who like created the characters didn't license them out and you can't sign them because they're signed to.
Gambit's very popular. I mean, I know Spider-Man is Marvel's like number one. Like that is their tentpole, right? So I think I want to pick up some boxes of the No Way Home, even though it is cinematic, because I want to get some autos. Hopefully, some decent autos. And I'd love to get a Chris Evans auto of Captain America, but that's another story. But I'm trying to think of where to enter into this world, and I don't want to dive into the super expensive like vintage stuff like you were talking about as like a 2023 product. I mean, I don't know who the target audience for this is or who's going to collect it, and maybe I'll just end up with a base set of it, but it seems like somewhere to start, right? I mean,
the other thing that makes Marvel much more expensive than something like Topps Star Wars, and I kind of wish Topps did this, right? There's the Topps digital app. I forget what it's exactly called, right?
Yeah. You can trade digital cards.
So Marvel has a version called ePack that's run actually through Upper Deck. It's Upper Deck's platform. You can buy cards on ePack and you can collect them, and they're digital, but they'll also reserve that specific card for you through ComC. And so at any point you can transfer your cards to ComC, and ComC will send you the physical cards that you got online out of packs, which is how most people collect Marvel cards anymore, because like you can't find them, right? Marvel cards are not cheap. There's no introductory product outside of like MCU type stuff, like cinematic stuff that they'll sell at Target. Like you cannot go just buy a box of
right. So that's another point that drives me nuts, because you go to these large stores and all they sell are Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and the occasional Magic, right? And then there's some oddball sports decks. That's all you'll find. You'll never find anything else.
You have to go to like specialized sport. So for Upper Deck, Upper Deck will only deal with sport card stores. So you'd have to go to a dedicated sports, like local card shop that does sports stuff. Right. And then like those stores aren't really trying to cater to like Marvel and Star Wars. So there's not like
they're catering to sports card people.
They're sports card people, right? So like it's really hard to get Marvel cards. The other thing is like the art card, like I said, art cards are super expensive, right? They're just announced 2022 Marvel Masterpieces a couple weeks, a week or so ago. It's gonna debut on August 23rd. David Adams Card World took pre-orders, $500 a box. They sold out. $500 a box. It's 12 packs. Each pack has 3 cards in it.
That's going to be a very popular set. The masterpieces are always
That's
how
they all are. So most people just buy it online on ePack, and then they'll collect the set digitally, transfer it to ComC, and ComC will send you the physical cards, right? So that's how most people actually interact with Marvel art cards. But then what Upper Deck does is they have achievement cards. So if you collect a certain part of the base set, right, you collect all the, to 1,500 cards, you can get tier 1 achievement. And if you get all the, purple parallels. You can get this achievement, and there's achievement cards which are also unique to the set that aren't in the boxes that you could get at a retailer. So Upper Deck just undercutting all their local card shops doing that, right? But like, you can then redeem those through ComC and get them. Now, achievement cards are super expensive. The thing that, so when I say like, so when you say like, oh, who's looking for, Journey to Rise of Skywalker stuff? When you look at Marvel and you're like, oh, who's looking for, 2020 Marvel Masterpiece or 2018 or 2016 Marvel Masterpiece or Premiere or any of these things, there's achievement cards that you cannot possibly get unless you collected that set online 6 years ago, right? Otherwise, you're spending out of your pocket to buy these off of the people that did.
Right.
Super expensive. I just bought a 2019 Marvel Flare. They did a parallel set where you could trade in 5 base cards and get a gold foil version of that card. And as that was an achievement set, and it's a set for every card in the set. It has a gold foil. I just bought the gold foil set because I love gold foiling. But so like, but Topps doesn't do that, right? Like if Topps had achievement stuff, I think that would really impact prices.
Well, they do have, they don't have the digital
I also really wish that Topps would transfer digital cards to physical cards, because sometimes I'll be searching on eBay or something, right? And I'll be looking at Topps Star Wars, mostly looking for stickers from the the 77 to 83 things. So I'm trying to fill out my sticker collection on those, but you'll see it and you'll be like, oh man, that card looks really, it's digital only.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's this is a totally different collection, but they do have buyback cards. If you collect enough of the physical buyback cards, they'll give you a 1-of-1 card. It's essentially an achievement card, but you have to do a lot of trades because there's no way you're going to collect 25 of those unique buyback cards. They're super rare.
Right. And I really want to, so I would love to collect Topps Star Wars, because there's a lot of design. I'm very visual when it comes to how my card looks, the layout of the card, etc., how the card's going to foil, how the card's going to look under light and stuff. And a lot of the Topps digital Star Wars stuff looks really good, really, really good. And I'm like, oh man, that would be amazing if that was a real card, but I can't get it. And it's just damn.
Yeah, a lot of the digital cards I've seen that are parallels are this card doesn't exist. I know this set looks like this card is not a physical card. This is a made-up card online.
And I wish it was a physical card. And then Topps just announced some new Star Wars set that's going to be a flagship set or something. I forget exactly what it's called.
Well, they just dropped the Obi-Wan set not long ago, so people have been trading that. But
this is a high-end Star Wars Topps set that was just released. Let me see if I can find it real quick, because it looks really.
There's no way it's been dropped right now.
It comes out later this summer, in a month. It is the Topps Super Box. It comes with exclusive wide vision cards, and it is all new art for Star Wars stuff.
Oh God, wide vision cards?
I don't know if you can see. Oh wow, hang on, let me change my.
Wait. They're bringing back wide vision cards.
There's a wide vision card part to it. How do I change it?
Because the original wide vision cards, they're not really worth anything.
So there's awesome cards like that. But this is what the cards end up looking like. And it's yeah, but this set's gonna be $1 billion to buy a hobby box of it, and I'm gonna get that. This looks terrible. I don't want that. I want something that's going to look, super sick when I, pull it out, and I'm going to have, some card that's.
In my mind, the Galaxy cards changed the game, really. And those were more art based, right? They really changed the nature of these top Star Wars cards, because nobody was really paying much attention to them until Galaxy 21 came out, and then everyone was like, oh, these are really cool, because we liked the original art, but now we get all the high-end parallel numbered varieties, right?
How much of that was sports card investors coming in 2021 being
there were a good amount, and frankly, I don't think the return on investment has fruited for a lot of people. Like, I think it's either harder to sell them at the prices you got them, but the prices have definitely dropped overall for those cars. I'm not saying they're not rare. I'm not saying they're not desirable. They are, but they're not going for the prices they were when they initially launched. Because I remember like racing to get a refractor set when it came out, because I didn't buy the boxes. Like, I kind of missed that wave, so like I wasn't prepared to pay $600 to set $800 for a hobby box. You know, like that's crazy. So I just was like, oh, I'm happy with the refractor set. I'll keep that. And I think I got it for like $300 or something. I was like, yay. I thought that was a steal, but you know, I don't know if that's worth that right now. Maybe 250, maybe 200, but I mean, they're nice cards. I like looking at them. I'm not going to sell them anytime soon, but I don't think a lot of the numbereds have sold. I've seen people selling their PSA 9s and 10s of 21 Galaxy asking for crazy high prices, but I don't see people lining up to buy them, you know, so maybe they don't sell or maybe they're just unsold. It's definitely one of those things where people zero in on like a few cards that they're like, these cards are worth a lot. Everything else is like whatever, you know? So like, even though the whole set, you could have some really rare card. Like I have a 1 of 1, you know, and some 5s and 10s and 25s, but some of them I got for like $10, $15. But if you got it with a Vader or Luke or, you know, Obi-Wan, Yoda situation, like it could be going for $400, $500, you know, more. Sure. It just is what it is. Like some people just
the one of one super refractor, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I'm happy to collect the not as expensive stuff because I can get more of it. Yeah, I don't know what the next tentpole collecting thing is, and frankly, if something came out like even tomorrow as the new like Star Wars tentpole thing, like I don't know if I'd be jumping all over it. I'd kind of wait and see what.
Yeah, it's kind of where I'm at with Lorcana, right? Like I have the D23 promos. I have them all because I bought the set when it first hit in like last September, and I got it for what would now be very cheap at that time. It was still
I mean, there's no doubt you'll make your money back more full.
But I just don't know about like, do I actually want to collect this product? Like,
are you going to play it at the at the card store?
I'm not going to go play it at the card store. Like,
am I going to play it with you on our free time? Like, I don't know.
Like, I don't.
It's not my top choice, to be honest. If we were going to play a game, it's not in the top 10.
No, I mean, in my free time, if I can play a game, I'm just playing Star Wars CCG online. I'm not playing anything else really anymore. I'm just kind of collecting, which is also one of the reasons why I kind of jumped back into some of the non-sport stuff. Prices came down a lot. A lot of the annoying people that entered the hobby in 20 and 21 left.
Because they're like, oh, wait, we can't retire off buying some cards at a box and then trying to flip it.
Right. I'm in it.
You and everybody else, bro.
So, I kind of jumped back into that because it's like, well, what am I actually going to do with gaming cards? Like, I like that there's utility there, but am I actually going to game with these? Like, it's just not good.
I mean, like you said before, if people are going to play, they're going to play online, right? Like, now that the app is so good, you can have global tournaments that way.
I can see where the Lorcana cards that have been spoiled are going to look amazing in foil. And it's like, part of me is like, yeah, I kind of wouldn't mind getting like a foil set. But at that point, they're not really any different than an art card set. And it's like, some of them are going to be super cheap. Commons are going to be less than $1. There's probably going to be couple of
chase players. Is it going to be like Pokemon where like it's expensive to buy, but then to unload it is hard because everyone's got it?
I mean, it is still a game at the end. It really depends on the longevity of the game. But at the same time, it's like, so if I'm just going to spend, I don't know, $800 on Lorcana stuff, buying sets and foil sets and stuff like that, like, am I going to do anything with these cards? I'm not going to play with them. I'm going to look at them. I'm going to be like, wow, it looks really nice. But is that really what I want? Going back to the idea of having depth over breadth, right? And it's like,
let me ask you
I could just buy some of these like $600 Marvel gold stuff.
But let me ask you something seriously, right? How much of a Disney fan are you? Like a fan right? On a scale of 1 to 10, like 1, I literally couldn't care less, or what the hell is Disney, to 10, like I'm a super fan. I go to Disney all the time. I know all the characters. I know all their backgrounds. Like, I love it. Like, where do you stand on that, right?
4.
Right. And to me, that's what I can't wrap my brain around. Like, I don't want to go after Lorcana cards when I actually don't really care that much about it, and that's part of the reason why some of these other games that come out, like, I just like, I guess I could collect it and be like, oh, maybe I could flip it and make a bad buck. But like, if I'm not passionate about it, it's hard for me to wrap my brain around it.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess there's part of me that is, I like some of the Disney stuff mostly just because my kid got into Disney, right? And so like I'm sitting there watching TV with him or watching a Disney movie with him. I'm like, man, Disney made some good movies in the 90s, right? Like Aladdin and The Lion King, they're pretty good movies. Like, but do I want to collect a whole card set around them that I'm not going to do anything with? I don't really know. Not really.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Don't get me wrong. Like, I loved Alice in Wonderland and The Sword and the Stone. Those were like my two Disney jams. But am I going to collect a card set of them? Like, it's a little juvenile.
Yeah. So I just keep going back and forth about whether or not should just sell them. Part of me is like, you should just sell them now. You don't know what's going to happen with the Upper Deck Ravensburger suing each other thing.
So it's greed, right, that ultimately wants us to hold on to these, because you're like, well, they could be worth even more once everything drops. But the logical, rational thing is, oh, this just went 10x. I should sell this, right? But you're like, nah, maybe I'll keep it a little longer because it might be worth more, or maybe I'll like it more. But like, if I didn't really care about it, I'd be like, I'm flipping it. I'm done. Take the bank. And
I might just do that and buy some more Marvel cards with it, honestly.
Well, yeah, get something that you actually want.
Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 9.9 with Marvel.
But this goes back to the sketch cards that I was saying before. Like, they're cool, great, but I don't have a genuine passion for them, so I'm going to sell them and get stuff I want, right? Like stuff I actually want to buy more of, right? Whether that's missing cards in a set or something. And maybe that's not the most appealing thing to everybody in the world, but to me, it makes sense. To my collection, it makes sense. Right?
Yeah, so, I think I'll probably look into selling it. I'm thinking about when I should time it. Should I try to sell it right before the Lorcana release, when everybody gets like really hyped about it, like, oh, it's coming out next week?
There's like really two things that could happen, right? One, this game comes out, they overprint the poop out of it, everybody gets the cards they want without the D23, and then they stop caring about the original D23. The game fizzles out and then goes into history as like a whatever flop and goes the way of the Beanie Babies. Or two, it drops, it becomes even more popular. People want all of it. They can't get enough of it. They keep launching more, and now the D23 cards are more popular as ever because they're top of mind.
That's where I'm at. Like, which one should I try to hold out for it? Should I just sell it and be like, hey, I'm happy that
the target audience for this game, right? Like, this game is supposed to be for kids, right? Like, these kids aren't collecting PSA 10 Lorcana sets for 10 grand plus. Like, that's their parents. And even then, they're going to be like, no.
It's something that goes back to something you said earlier, though, right? And what you said earlier was, I forget exactly what we were talking about, but it was like, there were two targets. There was like middle-aged men in their 40s and like dads who have like 8-year-olds, right? That are into like cards. That is the target audience for Lorcana, right?
But the kid isn't going to care about D23 cards. The 8-year-old doesn't know. They don't care. They want to go to their cafeteria with their friends and play this silly game, right? Like, in theory, like Pokemon, I mean, they got to compete in the Pokemon space, so they're probably already bringing Pokemon cards. So maybe that's the new thing to chat about. But Lorcana is planning on dropping a set every quarter. Am I right? Just like Pokemon, right? So they're going to probably flood open the gates of these cards, and we're going to be seeing Lorcana cards everywhere. But for a store to actually host a tournament in it, they got to comply with these crazy agreements, right? These rules. So it's going to be like really hard to like actually meet the requirements of this. So are these middle school kids going to be going to these stores competing on a level national? Maybe a few, but like the dads, are they going to want to be excited and drag them out to this stuff? I don't know. I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around this. Like, I get that there's 900 cards, it's limited, and because it's a Disney IP, it's much bigger than any other IP because it's got such broad generational
helped
appeal.
it 5 times in value, right? Or, you know, if you got it for $300 at D23, you 20 times your value, but most people probably 3 to 5 times their value because of that. So, yeah, I mean, I think if I were to sell out, probably could, probably 3.5 to 4 times my value what I put into it, which is still
there's quitting, and then there's quitting while you're ahead, right? I mean, if you said your passion is about a 4, so that's not very high. If you said, oh, I'm like an 8 or a 9, then like, great, keep it because you love Disney, but like, clearly you don't give a hoot. You'd rather get a gold card with Marvel. If you could sell your Lorcana cards and get Marvel cards you otherwise would not have gotten because you just flipped this for 10x, isn't that a win?
Yeah. So
I mean, wouldn't you rather have the Marvel cards you really want than like some Lorcana cards that are going to
I mean, the hard part is that like selling things online, it just is annoying to do, right? Especially selling things online at that value. Like if I sold something and it was $100, like fine. Selling something that's $7,000 or $8,000, like you start running into like
taxes. Give me a break.
So yes, there's a tax implication on that, but 2, it's like, how much do I actually trust the other person to not do a chargeback? Or
that's what PayPal goods and services is for, my friend.
PayPal goods and services is for, and they write back and say this card came back and it had a scratch in it, and I want a refund and blah blah blah, and they send you back.
Are you seriously telling me right now the guy who sold 6 figures worth of some other card game that you don't feel comfortable selling some Lorcana card because of either taxes or because of eBay?
Well, one, I sold all those before tax things.
I don't buy it. It's bullshit. I'm calling bullshit right now. I think you're holding on to it because you want to cling to the idea that you might be part of some super hype train and you got in early enough that you're like, I'm winning in this game of life. Look at me, everyone. I'm winning. We get it. You won.
You got me.
But I just, if you're not passionate about it, what's the point?
When we hang up this call, I'm gonna list, $25,000 worth of collectible cards, mostly Magic.
I mean, if you don't care about it, then like whatever, like the stuff I'm collecting, like I actually want the stuff I find that's cool that I don't have a duplicate of that I'm selling, like these sketch cards are like, hey, that looks nice. I'm sure somebody will love this and take care of this. I would like to use these funds towards something I actually want to finishing some other set somewhere else.
Right.
It just is what it is, right? I mean, you can do what you want, but to me, it's just like a random, I don't know, thing you're holding.
Right. You've like 98% of the way into just selling these.
I just I get it's fun to be part of a wave of like, hey, I'm on the hype train and I'm winning and I got in early. Look at me, wee, and we all like ride to victory, like while other people are like, wow, I'm so dumb. I sold mine at $20 or like I didn't get in early enough. It's like, yeah, I got you. But like whatever, like do what you want to do. And because at the end of the day, like in a year from now when this crap drops, I don't think that lawsuit is going to stop the game. I don't know if the game is going to gain as much traction as they're like boasting it out to be. And as much as you and Matt keep blasting the fact that Ravensburger doesn't understand how to run a card game, I'm not too optimistic on, where it's headed anyways. Between the really strict deployment on the stores and like, who the hell is the target audience for this stuff? Like, we're supposed to drop everything and now buy new sets every quarter for this, like Magic, and just switch over and quit Pokemon or maybe buy both. I don't know. I don't know. I don't care. It's just like Pokemon. I bought a new box. I'm like, do I feel anything about this? No. Like I played it in middle school, collected them all in the video game, collected them all. I did it. But like I don't
got everyone.
Got 151 out of 150. I was very happy about that, but I'm like, I have no emotional attachment to these cards. I sold them all. I traded them all.
I got so many. I even got Digimon.
I basically gave a lot of them away. I was like, it's too annoying to sell this stuff for $20, $10 a piece that I'm just gonna somebody take it. Some kid will enjoy this. I'm glad they love it. Moving on. Sorry, Pokemon fans. I don't mind watching people rip fancy rare stuff. Sure, power to you. It's overprinted, and I think Lorcana, I'm worried
rip anything
will
good.
get overprinted because it's going to knee-jerk reaction to this kind of underprinting of this initial set. They're going to be like, "Oh my god, we need to print so much of it. It's so high demand."
Yeah,
you'll see. 10 years from now, you're going to walk into some Dollar Tree, and it's going to be in a barrel in the bargain bin. They'll be like, "Oh, pick up some Lorcana." And you're like, I don't need this cardboard.
Yeah.
I tried. I just don't. I personally find it really difficult to collect something I'm just not passionate about. I mean, if you can do it, great. And for those who are running a store or speculation, that's different because you literally, maybe you don't really care about anything particular because you're willing to part with all of it all the time.
Right.
You're just a broker, right? So I find it hard. I can't do that myself. I can't really broker stuff and be like, "Oh, I'm going to rip this box and sell all of it." It's like, what was the point of opening it then?
Yeah.
I don't get people that do that. I just, it's like, why are you here? Like, I don't know. Maybe you thought you could get lucky or win the lotto by getting a one of one. To be honest, I contemplated about buying a Magic collector box of Lord of the Rings, but then I was like, I have no business buying this box. I don't know the first damn thing about Magic, and even if I did pull something good, I wouldn't know any of this stuff is, and I ain't gonna play it, and I'm not gonna really collect a whole set. So why would I get into it? The one of one ring was pulled. I mean, for those who haven't heard, sorry, but it was pulled. And that kind of like killed the hype for that. So I'm like,
nobody cares about it anymore, right?
I mean, I know there's other good numbered cards in there.
Yeah, but the hype that was behind one of one ring and the hype that's behind to 300 Dwarven ring, it's like worlds apart.
Well, the asking price on eBay is still pretty high for the 300s and even 900s. But yes, I agree. I don't think it merits the same thing because I've paid literally like less than $10 for cards numbered under 25. So like it's like 300, really?
Right.
That seems like a lot.
Exactly. And like on top of that, like I think it's going to be a diminishing returns for Wizards of the Coast, right? There was like such amazing marketing hype behind this, right? It's Lord of the Rings, it's Tolkien, it's Lord of the Rings and Magic together. It's a one ring, it's a one of one, blah, blah, blah. Like they're going to put out a Doctor Who set. There's going to be a one of one TARDIS. They're going to eventually get a Lord of the Star Wars set, and there's going to be a one of one Luke's lightsaber or something. That's kind of cool, but like, you know what I mean?
Magic, you think Magic would do a Star Wars set?
If they could get the license or the...
yeah.
They don't actually even need the license. They just... Because Lord of the Rings is held by FFG. So they just pay FFG a boatload of money. Let us also print a Star Wars subset. They're technically all Magic cards, right? Because like the cards have like a line of text that it's like this is actually like a different card on it, right? Like,
well, speaking of FFG and Star Wars, that deck building game, I think you were the one who kind of like were like, right? I mean, they are doing.
Thinking about doing anything with an FFG product, I just choked. I will say they have exactly one, maybe two product lines that I actually care about. One is the Star Wars RPG, but there's so much material printed for that. I have all of it. That there's literally nothing else that they could print other than just like updated source books with new material of Star Wars shows that have come out and stuff. But like even then, it's like there's like 70 books in the FFG Star Wars line. Like not that many, 40 books or something like that. I have them all. Like there's nothing else that I would ever need. I'm also basically just bought them to collect them because when the hell am I ever going to get a group of people together consistently to play a role-playing game in like it's gonna be
That's difficult. Yeah,
absolutely 0 times ever in the rest of my life will I be able to run a campaign. Maybe I could do a one-shot game where like we play.
Well, we could start something given now that I don't live far away from you.
Okay, so I got you and me. And who else?
If you want to start a campaign of something, then
I also have to have time to do it, right?
Well, you'd have to pencil it in the calendar, right? It'd have to be like Wednesday evenings, like from 8:30 or something.
Yeah, it takes so much effort to do. And the only other game is Twilight Imperium, but I have Twilight Imperium 3rd edition, and I already have Twilight Imperium 4th edition. I'm not going to rebuy the same game that I already have. And Twilight Imperium takes 12 hours to set up the board. So they played the game exactly once and never going to play it again. So there's literally there's nothing that I want from FFG. Like, unless they came out with just some absolutely stellar, probably Star Wars product, because anything that they're doing with Marvel, I'd rather play Upper Deck versus 2-player game than anything FFG puts out, like Crisis Protocol or whatever the Marvel Champions. I don't care about any of that crap. I like the Arkham Horror stuff, and I actually have a bunch of Arkham Horror, which is like the H.P. Lovecraft mythos card game, and you can play it solo.
Yeah.
But the game is designed that you never win, really. Like, it's super hard to actually win. It's just kind of like, I kind of survived the encounter with a Cthulhu, because that's, you know, in real life, if Cthulhu actually existed, that's kind of what would happen. If you actually had to face Cthulhu, you would probably just not win, right? So, like, it's kind of an interesting game from, like, that perspective, but, like, you know, I don't really want to. So it'd have to be like a Star Wars product. It would have to have like phenomenal art or movie stills. I really didn't care for the stuff that they used in Star Wars Living Card Game or Star Wars Destiny, which is also the same art that they use in FFG role playing game. But since that's mostly text based books and not so much art based books, I'm okay with it. But like, I just didn't. Like, none of the art that they did. And the new card game that they're coming out with, the art looks like you put a prompt into AI art generator of like, give me what you think 32-bit Star Wars looks like. And it's like, no thanks. This does not do anything for me. I'd have to be like I'd have to like look at it and be like, that looks really good. I want to play it because I like the way the cards look. And it would also still have to have good gameplay to it. Like, if it's a terrible game, but the cards look good, why would I buy that over just buying like Master
right
or like non-sport or something like that, or more Star Wars CCG, or, you know, whatever, design my own CCG stuff like on GIMP for printed on make playing cards. But like, you know, so like FFG has probably next to nothing that they could offer me.
Well, what's interesting though is like, I actually like the mechanic of deck building. Like, I like the idea of everybody starting with something and then making your deck better and better and better as you build it. And there is a lot of strategy to how you want to play that. So
why not just play Ascension?
Well, I play a fair amount of Dominion, right? I like Clank, which is like deck building plus board play, right? But like, your deck really defines what you can do.
Right.
So, you know, there are certainly games out there that have that mechanic. I don't know. That's something that's always been intriguing to me. I like making things better and better and better. Victory points or something like that. So that's why that appealed to me. But, you know, I haven't looked more than just some of what of the art that they've put forward and the
I
history of
read
it.
through the quick start rules for the game, and I was just like, on top of me not liking the art that they have, the quick start rules was just like absolutely not. If I'm gonna pick up a new CCG, I'm gonna pick up Lorcana. I'm not gonna pick up this Star Wars game.
But are you going to play Lorcana?
But am I gonna play that Star Wars game either?
Who are you
No.
going to play with? Are you going to go hang out at the middle school and go find some
There's-
kids to go play Lorcana to go take them to school? On
At
that?
this point in my life, unless it's Star Wars CCG that I play on online, or like maybe once a year get together and play some like Commander with some friends that I don't have any Commander decks built for anymore, I'm not playing a game.
So is Lorcana going to be available online to play people globally with cards that you pull?
No.
So again, what the hell's the point in owning this real cardboard? Like again, you're just riding the hype wave. Like, oh, other people are excited about it, so I should own it. If nobody cared, let's put this in perspective. If nobody gave a hoot about Lorcana, you were the only person on Earth that was had access to this or cared about this, would you be buying? No, you would not. It's only because you've heard about other people excited about it. You're like, oh, I want to be part of the bandwagon. It's like being a Patriots fan in 2000. Like, give me a break. Give me a break. Everyone's a Patriots fan when they're all winning, right? Oh, Tom Brady. No, don't do that.
I'm just you've sold me on selling the Lorcana.
If nobody else collected Star Wars CCG, I would still have Star Wars CCG sets because I like it, right? The same with some of these other Star Wars cards. I don't care. And this goes for my $2 bill set. I don't care if I'm literally the only human on this planet that collects these weird, obscure, old $2 bills. It makes me happy. I like it. It's weird. It's difficult. It's hard. They're hard to come across. I want it. That's the nature of it. Lorcana, I can't wrap my head around it. And that's why it's so strange to me that like this stuff is super expensive for like the speculator or the ultra wealthy board collector. But, are you going to be playing this? Like once this comes out, this drops, they're not going to be releasing any numbered serialized cards. If they were smart,
they would figure out what Topps
did. If they were smart, they would be dropping cards that are like autographed, maybe numbered to like 50 or whatever. And like you'd still play with them, but you'd have a collector base. They haven't started any collector stuff. They haven't talked about it. They don't know how. Like, give me a break.
Nobody collects puzzles.
If they had a collector base, this would be a totally different conversation, right?
Yeah.
If they were targeting collectors and players, you can get the kids, like your Pokemon cats, where they can buy bulk Pokemon cards on eBay for $10 and they can play their hearts out, right? With crappy looking cards. But then you have your foils or ultra secret rare nonsense, your gold flare foil nonsense, whatever. Then you get both, but they're not doing that. They don't know how. So again, this just goes back to like, why? I don't need a Little Mermaid card. I don't care. It could be one of one. I don't care. Maybe my wife would like it more than me. I still wouldn't want it. So I just that's what's happening, and that's why I'm like, as
what you said makes sense.
Are we really excited about Mickey Mouse and Elsa card in a PSA slab? Like, is that not laughable? If you asked yourself 20 years ago, hey, I'm going to have a Disney princess card and it's going to be graded a 10. It's going to be awesome. You're going to be like, what the? Like, get out of here. Get out of here. You're not, get out of here. That's bogus.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said earlier was like your $2 bill set or Star Wars CCG. Like, I would still collect Star Wars CCG. I'll still collect Marvel.
And that's fine.
But that's the thing also with non-sport is that because there's no utility to it, it is almost a solitary experience. There's people online that you can trade with or buy from, and you can post some pictures of what you have, and people like it or be like, hey, that's really cool or something. But like my Marvel collection is for me, right? like I can't do anything with it. Like nobody else can really enjoy it. It is almost a solitary experience.
Don't get me wrong. It's nice that other people collect similar things so you can have camaraderie with them, right? But are you going to be hanging out at the middle school and sharing your Elsa card or your Robin Hood card or your Minnie Mouse card and be like, yo, check this out. We got the same card. No, you ain't going to be playing with them. And that's weird. You know, like it's just wrong. You know, but like if you're like, hey, we both collect X set of Star Wars or Marvel, like that's cool. That transcends generations. Neat. But I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So, I mean, do what you want. That's part of the reason why I was like, I'm looking at this Mickey Mouse card. I'm like, do I want to pay $250 for it? Will I flip it? Yeah, you could definitely make money off it. I don't want to spend the time investing into something I actually just don't really care about. My son likes Mickey Mouse, but he's not going to care if I gave him a Mickey Mouse toy that was $4 or $4,000. He's just going to be happy to play with whatever he has. So we'll go to Goodwill and keep going that way. And he's totally happy. You know, great. Power to him.
Fair enough.
He doesn't need no serialized foil nonsense.
Not yet. One day.
One day, but that won't be my problem because by then he'll have a job. So he can spend his money his way. That's his choice.
Spend your money his way too.
Yeah. I won't have any Elsa cards here. You won't find any here.
He's gonna be like, hey Dad, I got this whatever it is from Stranger Things that you're still hunting for because you never finished your
Well, so what's funny about that is I connected with somebody recently who was like, hey, I saw one of your Stranger Things videos and I'm interested in collecting the waffle cards. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, great, just what I need, more competition for cards that are numbered to 11. You know, knowing that somebody already has almost a complete set. So here's like me, and it was really like 10, you know, and there's clearly somebody else collecting them. So it's probably 9 or 8, right? So it's like even less. But I'm like, hey, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, like maybe it makes more sense to just sell my 50 out of 100, you know, waffle to 11 cards for $2,600 to $3,000 than finishing the set, because it's like I could hunt them down, and there's something fun with hunting something that's hard, but if somebody really wants it, like, you know, great. Like I'm not.
So like if you did that other than just buying some like crazy like 1898 $2 bill, what would you have that you would be like hunting or collecting? Would you start a new collection? Like if you were like, you know what, I'm just done with these waffle cards. Give me $3,000. You get the $3,000, but you want to like turn it into something.
Well,
new.
Okay.
Something that you're chasing, or is there something that you would start, or would you just buying a $2 bill with it?
I can kind of uninterestingly answer that in that I have some lesser valued top Star Wars sets that I have partial sets of. I've bought some bulk lots of Star Wars cards over the past year. I've been given cards, I've come across cards, and to me it's just kind of fun to like fill in the holes, but they're not particularly expensive, right? You know, like there's battle plans foils. I have the Force Awakens chrome stuff. I have Skywalker Saga, like 1 out of 4 rarities, some missing Book of Boba Fett stuff, some, you know, other oddball sets that are not expensive, but it gives me something to do to like fill in the holes, because I still like the Star Wars cards in general, but I don't need to spend a fortune on. The stuff that would merit more expense would be the $2 bills, right? But that's kind of like, if the stuff I need really is expensive and hard to come across, period. So it's just one of those things, like you just have to wait until these people die, and then their kids like put their notes up for auction to get them, because they're like, no, we want 10 grand for it. I'm like, no, I'll wait till you're dead, because I'm younger than you. Sorry, not sorry. You know, like it's an old man hobby. What do you want? I don't know what you want. I'm 30 something years old. You're 60. I got time.
I will say
I'm gonna get that note.
I do want that super sweet $5 bill.
I'm gonna pry that bill off your dead body if I need to.
Yeah,
it's mine. But you know what? More likely your kid's gonna throw it at a pawn shop or throw it up for auction because they don't know what it is, and you didn't tell them what it is because you're too much of a hermit to tell them. So fine by me. But yeah, most of the stuff I'm collecting with Star Wars stuff, oddballs, is just, it's not expensive. It's just like I just grabbed these these are Star Wars Masterworks inserts, but they're like blueprint cards, but they looked really cool in the HGA custom slabs. So I got them for like $7 or $8, but I'll grade them and they look cool and I like looking at them. It ain't fancy. If nobody else in the world is collecting them, I don't care.
display? Do you put them in display cases, or you leave all your stuff in bind? Do you put it in binders? Do you put it in?
Yeah, I mean, I have
boxes?
some stuff I rotate through a display box, but most of the stuff sits in a box for now. I have a lot of binders. I've put stuff in binders, but the graded stuff, I'm not sure what to do with. I'd love to frame more of it.
You know, what'd be sick is if they made graded pages, like binders for graded.
There is a thing, but I haven't seen one of those in a while.
I got some top loader binders, but they don't hold 100+ point top loaders well.
Yeah,
so they only do 35 point. They hold 35 point the best, which is like your standard trading card.
I've used some for holding patches, not in top loaders, because they're thicker. They don't fit the regular binders, but it is what it is. I don't know how to display it. My ultimate plan is to renovate the library downstairs, put all my cards there so I can be like, welcome to my card library, and then display stuff. But that's like,
I need a second house. That's what I need.
Yeah, I need a second job to afford that. So now I have the space, but just don't have the funds to do that. So I got to earn that.
Mm-hmm. Right, well, you should go back to being an Uber driver then. Get like
I was never an Uber driver to begin with. That's like a losing proposition. Doesn't make any sense to me. Like, put all this money. I mean, I think when Uber first came out, it was good because you could get as a driver like 8, 9, 10x when things were popping. But I think they keep changing the plans, the payouts, and make them worse and worse for the drivers. I think they're basically slaves at this point.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how it works. I know it's one of the ladies that I work with. She drives Uber at night and on weekends, and she drives until she makes $100. Sometimes it takes hours.
Yeah, but you're putting miles on the car. You're using gas. Like, you're not really winning, right? Like, you're still depreciating your vehicle.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're like paying to accelerate the downfall of your car. I don't know. This doesn't make quite sense to me. I get you got to do what you got to do, but
you could market on Tarkin Seekers.
Yeah, I know.
One at a time back into circulation.
What's funny is there was one listed on eBay for like $4, right? And I'm like, oh, should I just buy it and just have a nice page of them?
Yeah.
But then I'm like, do I really want it? I don't know. I don't think anybody else will buy it. That's the funny thing. Like, you can't give that card away.
Do you really need a Journey to the Rise of Skywalker set?
No, but for $12, I will get a complete set and then take the incomplete set that I have and fill it with other incomplete sets of duplicate cards I have and sell those so somebody else can figure out what to do with those cards. Not me. That is the beauty of it. So once I have a complete set, I can put it in a box, shove it in the closet, forget about it, and be happy that I own it.
Until the next time COVID comes, then you can take your stuff out of your boxes. And
yeah, for COVID 20 and COVID 21 and whatever happens after COVID 19, right?
Yeah. That's good. I think that's a wrap.
Yeah, this has been good. This is totally random. I know we kind of went off the rails everywhere, but this was good. Thanks for all listening. Have a great day.
36 minutes.
Finish my whiskey and call
Leave some comments down below about your thoughts on collecting in a post-pandemic world, which we didn't really cover at all.
Yeah, tell me how passionate you are about your Elsa card that you own, because Andy's very excited about his Elsa card.
Okay, all right, you got me. I'll probably list them for sale and buy some sweet marble cards with it.
Yeah, enjoy playing Lorcana with the kids. I'll be collecting adult cards over here.
All right.